What's up, everyone? This is Sahil here, and welcome to the Sehgal Show, where I'm gonna be interviewing some crazy entrepreneurs out there who started from scratch with no experience, resources, and connections, and then later on became unstoppable and dominating figures in their respective businesses. We're gonna dive deep into the mindset of these super successful entrepreneurs to find out how they did it and how you can model it too. It's time to pick their brains and uncover all the strategies and tactics which these entrepreneurs use to scale their businesses from nowhere to multiple 6, 7, and 8 figures. Welcome to the Sehgal Show. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Sehgal Show, where we interview some unstoppable entrepreneurs who are dominating figures in their respective businesses. Sahil here, back again, and guess what? Who we have today on our show? James Smiley. I'm going to be telling you a little bit about James before we start. James is known as the king of B2B digital marketing and passive income expert. He has done over 210 million in digital marketing sales before 35 years old. He has consulted for three Fortune 10 companies like Facebook, AT&T, and Amazon, coached over 564 plus executives, over 10,000 solopreneurs that he has trained, and over 12,000 B2B sales rep. He has served 48 of the Fortune 500 in either a consultancy, agency, or leadership role, featured in Forbes and Yahoo, and top under top 40 entrepreneurs. He is a best number one best-selling author in all five top entrepreneur categories. His journey is nothing less than inspiration, and he's on a mission to help digital entrepreneurs becoming exceedingly profitable. So, without any further ado, let's welcome James to our show. Welcome, James. Thank you so much for coming on.
What's going on, my man? Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
All good, man. Great. Anything else that I missed in your intro?
Man, I appreciate that. I try to be one of those guys who's not believing in the your resume so much. Is just who you are day to day. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate that. I'm a dad, 4 kids. I live out here on a ranch, and just working hard every day, just like everyone else. I mean, it's funny. I come from a really poor background, so like when you hear something like that, it's to be honest, I mean, it's flattering, but it's also like, wow, like, like you think about where you came from. And what I can say, guys, is it's about hard work, and it's about, not giving up and failing a lot cheaper and faster than most people will, and just being willing to try a lot, put your neck out, run into the fire, help people. And, there's been 100, I could give you a resume of 100 bullet points of failures, epic failures, but it's like life is not about those failures, right? It's about what you do with those. So
Absolutely, man. Your journey is literally wow. And the thing that you mentioned, the failure is a part of this entrepreneurship. Definitely. Well, what made you jump into this fancy world of entrepreneurship? And how did you build this? I heard this thing that you talk about integrated lifestyle. I'm very curious to know more about it.
yeah, so to be honest, I just ran from being poor when I was young. So without going into the whole background, but that was the thing that really drove me. Was I just remember, growing up doing drugs and drinking and partying, and got arrested at 16 and was just hanging around all the wrong crowds. I grew up in a poor, inner city minority neighborhood on the West Coast in the US. And then I remember like seeing people who lived differently. They lived in good homes. They had good clothes. They had clean clothes. They had good meals for lunch. And I did not understand how somebody could do that. I literally had no idea, because when I walked around my neighborhood or went to the basketball court or whatever, I never saw anyone like that. And so that experience and exposure of just seeing other neighborhoods allowed me to think like, man, like there are people, and not just like 10, there's a lot of people. Maybe I didn't know how many. I didn't know if it was half the population. I didn't know, but I just thought there's a lot of people who live differently than me. And I just remember being somewhere around 14 or 15 thinking, when I grow up, I'm never, ever going to live like this. There's no way. And I'm appreciative to my dad and people, who helped me along the way. and who got me, from where we were before to that level of low income. I mean, it was like a massive leap for my dad to get us there. But I think for me, the fire has always been just I'll never be broke again. I have a Facebook group called that, and that fire just kept me going. When I was in my 20s, even though I got married and started having kids and things like that, I mean, I think I took one vacation, but it was a work vacation where my work paid for us to go to Hawaii, and we went out there to build businesses and meet with people and do consulting. So yeah, we would do meetings in the morning and then hang out in the afternoon, but it wasn't like I was just offline, and and so yeah, it was just a lot of 16 to 20 hour days, a lot of working 7 days a week. I mean, I didn't have any party life. I didn't, I mean, I basically didn't have a life. I just worked as hard as I could, and worked my way into Silicon Valley, made my first six figures when I was 20. Before that, I dropped out of 4 colleges. So, I did the whole college thing, tried that, dropped out. I played some college football and stuff like that, but that didn't work out. So, yeah, I just really, I mean, I'm going to be totally honest, because I know that people are there. When I was doing it, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I was accomplishing. I didn't know, like, you're in Silicon Valley, you're in the dot-com boom, you're starting a mobile app company, your mobile app company is going to IPO soon. You're like, I didn't know any of that. I just knew, like, I wanted to put my feet in the ground somewhere and work really hard and diligent. And I also started learning that there were smarter ways to do things. So this was like a complete revelation to me, is that you can, with 1 hour of work, you can get 10 hours of man hours output, or 100 hours of man hours output from 1 hour. And if you know how leverage works and how to build teams and things like that. And so when we had like sales quotas or whatever, because when we started getting venture capital, and we had 16 million, 33 million, 80 million. I mean, when we started getting that kind of money, we had serious revenue goals that we had to hit. And so, I didn't know how to generate $100 million, or, I mean, by the time I left, we had $1 billion valuation on our company. We were doing $350 million a year. We had 400 employees. I didn't know how to do that, so I just started hiring. Like, everyone would tell me, dude, just find somebody who can do it and then manage them. And so that's what I started doing, and then I just learned and made a lot of mistakes. I was super ambitious. And I became, a lot of it, I want to say, just to share with people who are coming up, and what I think holds people back today is attitude. So I have a saying, like, it's all about attitude, because I think, especially with the younger generations, it is where people are not ambitious, as I feel like, as much as they could be. And I think that like it's like, they're not ambitious, not because they don't have the drive in them or the passion, but they're not ambitious because they feel like if they fail, because the reality is, if you're going to be ambitious, you're going to fail. So people feel like if I fail, people will not like me. There's all these additional pressures of social media, which I didn't have, when I was coming up in 2000 to 2008 or so, and so, like, in their parents and things like that. So, people have all these pressures and they don't want to fail. But I think that is what keeps most people back is, yeah, I mean, I just stayed in a crappy apartment, living in El Monte, California, like basically like a kind of a ghetto neighborhood. And, I just stayed there and just hustled out of there. I mean, I had 3 internet lines from 3 different internet carriers coming into my apartment, because I needed redundancy, backup, more power. Like, what I'm saying? It was insane. I had computers and computer setups in 2 different I only had 2 bedrooms, and I was living by myself, and I had big computer setups in both bedrooms so that I could, like, be working on something, downloading something, like editing video, or do, like, it was crazy. But yeah, just hustle and just understanding, like, it's like a numbers game, if I'm trying to simplify it down to something simple for people, where if you think about it, your chance of success in whatever you're doing is very low, truthfully. So you have to understand, when you don't see it that way, you think, oh, I'm going to try something, and if I don't succeed, then I might quit. Or if I don't succeed 4 times, four attempts, 5 attempts, 6 attempts, I might quit. You have to understand, every time you fail, you're significantly closer to succeeding if you understand your failures properly. So that is the logical, mathematical, truth way to look at it. The illogical way to look at it is the unscientific way to look at it. The unfactual way to look at it is, I failed, so therefore my next failure probably won't work either. But see, that's what our mind tells us, right? So yeah, I don't know how. Somehow I figured that out. It's probably through sports and things like that. And yeah, it was just one step at a time. And I don't know. You know, I feel like I should have like some magical answer, but whenever I get asked that question, I want to tell people the real of like how it happened. I don't want to just make these broad strokes of like, I focused on this technology. You know what I'm saying? I want to tell people like how it really happened and what I really thought. So that's honestly what I really thought.
That's really amazing, man. Really, you said it very right. People are afraid of failures. That's why, like nowadays, especially the young kids, like people like us, it happens. And your journey is literally crazy, man. You started at very young age. I'm curious to know about that. Like at that time, who was your inspiration? Like these days, our inspiration, we watch videos on YouTube and all. But by that time, when you started, I don't think so. There was YouTube, and you started with that. So, what was your inspiration?
That's a really good question. I don't know if I really had like one person I looked up to, but what I realized is, as I made money, I realized this concept of investing into myself. So, and I knew education was really big, and I knew I didn't have it. I was pretty illiterate. I couldn't read very well. When you come from a poor neighborhood, like it's not uncommon that you graduate high school with not being able to read very well, and so like they're trying to keep the graduation rates high, so they're just going to pass people. So like what I did notice was I was really, really good in advanced in math and science, but there was a lot of things I was behind on. So I started taking like investing $2,000, $6,000 into working with successful people. And so my first big thing that I invested into was a $2,000 3-day thing with Tony Robbins. And I think I did that when I was 21, and it completely changed my life. The next year I went to it, and it was like $2,500 the next year, and I went to it. So that was like, and this is before Tony was like as big as he is now. And it was like a life-changing, eye-opening, crying, happy, ridiculous experience. And then so from that, then my next big mentor was I paid to be in this like kind of like a pseudo mentoring. I don't even think it was a real mentoring program, but I was at a conference. I saw this guy, Jay Abraham, and I paid to buy his upsell or whatever. And I mean, this was one of those ones like you run to the back of the room. Like back then, it wasn't like, it was pretty funny. And when you think about it, like how just everyone like stampeding to the back table. But yeah, so I signed up with him, paid that money, and then and help me understand, consult, all that stuff. So that was really big with Jay. And then after that, I had a really big thing that wasn't that expensive, but with Perry Marshall. And Perry Marshall's a big consultant, B2B guy as well. So that's kind of how I came up, the people that I really looked up to. This is like, me and like people like Russell Brunson, we're the same age. So he was like a young kid like me back then, probably like wrestling and stuff. Like those guys weren't really around, and internet marketing was nothing. There was no internet. There was no high-speed internet. Smartphones were just starting to emerge. So yeah, I mean, it's like if I was living in LA, and like people that I saw at conferences, I would just go see them. And those just happened to be the guys that I saw.
Beautiful. I love that part. You had the right mindset, like investment mindset, and spending when you were 21, $2,000 was a huge amount. I can imagine you spent on that. it might be equal to today's 3,000, 4,000, maybe more than
Yeah,
that.
right, over
And just
four.
over 4,000, yeah, exactly. And you had that right mindset at that stage. That's amazing. Love it. And those people are obviously the big names: Tony, Jay Abraham, and Perry. Amazing. That's amazing. Right now, like these, you had definitely had the right mindset from the beginning. At this stage, do you follow any daily strategy for being in that right headspace?
I think the thing that I focus on now most, and something that I talk about a little bit more now, is so I went through a divorce a few years ago. My ex left, and that was a very difficult thing. And it's very difficult for a lot of entrepreneurs. People get divorced for different reasons, but divorce is surprisingly high in America. It's like over 50%. And in some cities, it's like 70%. And in some industries, it's like 70%. So like entrepreneurship is really high. It's like, 65, 75%, depending on where you live. And so I feel like I didn't want to just go through that experience and not say anything, or I wanted to be a part of trying to help educate people on why these things happen. Also, a lot of my very, very good friends, close friends of mine who are entrepreneurs, they got divorced as well. And we, so, in the last few years, the number of people that were close friends of mine who got divorces was a lot. And so I have a heart and a passion for that. And I feel like my call in the world is not just to make money or build businesses, but is truly to help people. And so, as I've gone through my 30s, now in my 40s, I realize more of how to do my calling more. You kind of always evolve what your message is to the world. And so, I think most recently, just I've had to restructure my life because I have 4 little kids. Unlike most people who get a divorce, like I actually have 4 little kids. They're like between 4 and 9. So I specifically decided to, be their dad, um, at least half the time as much as I could. So that's what I do now. And so I had to restructure some of my businesses to fit that kind of lifestyle. And I will tell you, it is absolutely amazing. I mean, like they play on this ranch all the time. We have animals and tons of things for them to do. We have forts out in the woods and crazy stuff. And we're in America, so like you can shoot guns and do stuff like that and do archery and all, my kids just, it's an amazing time. So that's what really is a big focus on mine, is like just trying to be true to yourself and do things that will make you happy, and never really like being so focused on what the world or what the internet or what YouTube tells us is like, oh, all these people seem like they're making money. I can tell you, because I know and coach a lot of these people, they're not. And there are a lot of people making money, and I will tell you, multimillionaires and billionaires are making more money than ever before in history. That is absolutely true, especially in the last 2 to 3 years. But there's a lot of people that are probably in that like $200 to $1 million range who are not really taking home what you think. And but when you make that kind of income, you can really put out a really good kind of persona. And so I didn't want to fall into like somebody who's putting on a persona just to keep up the persona. I really wanted to stay true to who I am. So I really had a life reflection time. And I think that's really important, to look back and think about, like, what are the things that I want to do in this world? And what are the things that make me happy? And for me personally, I'm not suggesting this to anybody, but for me personally, you might like it. People might like it, but I'm just saying, for me, I want to be true to God. I want to do things that deal with the outdoors, because I enjoy the outdoors. So that's why I got a ranch and stuff and moved out of the city. And I want to help people grow businesses, and so that's what I do. It's been awesome. It's been like the most freeing experience to just know that I'm doing what I feel like I'm supposed to do. And I think most people will say, if they could do what they were really called to do, they would do it for free, all the way to millions or billions of dollars. They would just do it, right? Because it would truly make you happy. So yeah, I mean, that's what I'm really focused on right now.
Love it, man. That's straight from the heart. I can feel that. And we entrepreneurs all go through all that stuff. Sorry to hear about that divorce thing, but yeah, you made it happen. Now you have the life that you're enjoying with the kids. There is no comparison. No money can be compared to that stuff. What you are living through, with the kids. So love that part. And your name, James, I have seen like Saw a couple of your interviews as well. Your name got associated with B2B funnels. I'm jumping into the business part of it now. So what exactly is that? Like, how did you get into that stuff?
Yeah. So a lot of people have asked me, like, how did you work with all these companies? It almost seems unreal to do all that by 35 or 40 or whatever. And so, once again, leverage, right? So I didn't go out and knock on all these doors. So what I did was I actually found a consulting firm in New York, in the Tribeca district, that they they have clients that are investing money, and those companies were interested in investing money. I mean, they have thousands of companies that are interested in investing money into technology, into tech and stuff like that. Well, because I'd come from tech, I knew a lot about it. I knew how the finances worked. I knew the competitors. So they were booking me, and every day I was getting on calls, and I literally didn't know who I was talking to until I would get on the call. And I just know I had a meeting, and the call would pay me anywhere between like $300 to $1,000 an hour. And this is when I was like 26 to 30, maybe 32. I was getting on these calls, and when you're making $1,000 an hour, it's crazy when you think, you're talking to like 2 or 3 big CEOs or big executives, and you're giving them insight on stuff. And a lot of that later, they would contact me and say, hey, we liked what you said, we want to bring you on or put you on some type of retainer so we can talk to you. So that's how I kind of got into B2B. Was, after a couple years, I became known as like a young tech consultant from Silicon Valley who had IPO'd a company, or I was a part of IPOing a company. And so when making money on the internet became the thing, and really like Web 2.0 started, which was really like people talking on the internet. Web 1.0 was just like servers talking to each other and sending data. 2.0 was social, was all these people. 3.0 is like the virtual stuff and all that. But like 2.0, when it started, like people just assumed that I would know, because I was on the tip of the spear of mobile apps, GPS, smartphones, mobile Wi-Fi, like, high-speed internet that's mobile. Like, so people just assumed that I knew. So they started booking me for that stuff. And I'll be totally honest, like I was doing 1 hour of research 1 hour before the meeting to figure out. And I was calling all my friends, like, dude, I'm going to be talking to like Charter Communications, or I don't know, hopefully I don't get in trouble for saying this, but like I'm going to be talking to, Toyota, or I'm going to be talking to like some big company. And they're asking me about this, and this. And some of my friends were experts in that industry. So it was like self-education, right? Like I was just educating myself, being smarter than them. And they were paying to close the gap between what they knew and what I knew. And so that led me into online sales, finding leads, because wherever people go, businesses will put their advertising dollars. It doesn't matter if people are on the street, they'll do billboards. If they're on the internet, they'll run banner ads. If they're on social media, they'll pay for social ads. I mean, just wherever people go, companies will spend money. It doesn't matter if they're blogging online, wherever, like people will spend money to put their stuff in front of them. So that's really how I crept into it. But then I would say around 2013, I was at a Gary Vaynerchuk conference, and he said that, and this was life-changing, he said that that in the next 2 years, by 2015 or 16, that the solopreneur movement, which I had never heard that word before, he said the solopreneur movement was going to be the biggest thing on planet Earth in business. There's nothing going to be bigger. It's going to be the coolest, hottest thing. Everyone's going to be, doing social media clips, and like he kind of predicted like the TikTok era and all the Facebook lives. This is way before that technology was even, going. And so when I heard that, and here I am doing all these businesses, and I always wanted to be a tip of the spear guy, I was like, okay, I need to figure this thing out. This whole like cloud move. I mean, the fact that me and you are here on a Zoom or a StreamYard, and we have cloud, we have, Stripe and Dropbox. I mean, people don't realize that stuff wasn't even around 10 years ago, So we did not have this power to connect like this. Like you had to go through like GoToMeeting or something like that, and it was like $500 a month. It was insane. Like you had to be a business to be able to do this, a big business to be able to do this stuff. And so now that we can do it on such an amazing economical level because of cloud services and things like that, Amazon Cloud and all this stuff, it's enabled enabled this movement. So as that, I started realizing I need to get out of B2B and figure out this whole like personal branding thing and all this stuff. By the time 2015 comes around, I'm ready. And I made that big shift in 2015. And one of the biggest names in that market was this guy named Russell Brunson. And so I attached myself to him right away. Then I figured out he was starting a software company. I was listening to all of his podcasts. And one thing I know about leverage is like if you can get in with somebody who's on the come up, like you want to try to find, this is a huge tip, guys. You can make millions of dollars doing this. If you can find somebody who's on the come up in an industry, whether it's their first big hit or their 10th big hit, but as they're on the come up, if you can attach yourself to that wagon, so to speak, there will be millions of dollars that will fall out in the wake of their boat. As their boat cuts through the big waves, all the little wakes that boat leaves, people are surfing on those. People like me are surfing on the wake of his boat, right? And so so that's really was my big into the personal branding space. Is I was like, okay, this guy's big in the space, or he's an up and comer. He seems like he has a drive. He's going to be here for a long time. And so, yeah, I did everything I could. I eventually became his friend. When his software launched, I started running all of my stuff on his software, and it was super glitchy back then. It was funny. It was really, really horrible. I don't know if I should say that, but it was difficult to use when it first launched. But like all softwares, it's, to be fair, there's no software, I don't care if it's Microsoft or whatever, that wasn't like that when it started. And so what really put me on the map was they saw through their servers that we had did $1.7 million through a webinar. And what's, I guess, was the biggest webinar. I don't know. I've heard that. I haven't heard like Russell say that per se, but I've heard a lot of people say that work there. And so that put me on the map. And then people wanted to get me on their podcasts and all this stuff. And then that's really was the catalyst of how I got started. Was I basically out hustled people to serve a guy like Russell in ClickFunnels. And it's a lot, because I can tell you there was hundreds of thousands of people who tried to do what I did. They all wanted to be Russell's friend. They all wanted to piggyback off what he was doing. But I think 99.9 of those people wanted to get something from him versus give something to him. And that's how your head will always rise above the crowd. You've got to outgive everyone else versus while everyone else is trying to get something, you've got to give something. And so, every time I would see him somewhere or whatever, I was just trying to give something. And so there's that whole strategy is now called D100, or he has a thing on it or whatever. But I had learned that from Chet Holmes. Chet Holmes is the guy who started D100, by the way. He has a book called Ultimate Sales Machine, which is the best $10 anybody will ever spend on Amazon is Ultimate Sales Machine. But it goes through the that whole thing, and that's how I learned to network like that. It's about, if you think about it, guys, it's a super like human thing to do. Like, just be better, be a good person, help people, give to them, right? Like, that actually works in business. It will make you a ton of money. You'll serve a ton of people. You can be super happy giving more than you try to take from people.
Love it, man. I'm loving all the stories. Like, it's so real and so to the point. A lot of people try to run after people, like Russell Brunson's story that you shared. You just try to be in a company with those people, and then you can see you rise together. That's what you said. I love that part, and even I believe the same. Glad you mentioned about Chet Holmes. We have next guest on our show is Amanda Holmes. She's coming, her daughter. Then so
Wow.
we'll be interviewing her on next show. That's amazing. I love the amazing. That's great. You feel like that was in the initial part when you mentioned that was an unfair advantage that you got also when people were shifting from, they were contacting you. I love that part. Like, really, you were in the space, and that's how you were showing your presence, and people reached out to you, and you consulted you become like resourcefulness to the people. When you didn't know the stuff, you contacted your friends and all that. That's amazing. Love that part. Cool. And when it comes to James, like when it comes to closing these, when you jumped into from B2B to a solopreneur space, your rise, the success that you got was amazing, and you become one of the most demand coaches and mentors in the country as well. So at that time, when you were new to this online space, and when it comes to, you were trying to close, like, let's say 5-figure deals or 6-figure deals, like the money that you made from webinar, 1.7 million. I know that it's featured on ClickFunnels. Like, you have done over 210 million in sales as well. Like, how do you develop and raise that kind of belief and value system inside you when you're going into something new?
Yeah, so that is a very good question, because if you don't believe that what you're doing and what you're selling is worth the price that people have to pay, you will never sell it. So whether you're trying to do a partnership, a deal with somebody or whatever, most people don't, I mean, most people are good at the tech side. It's much easier to be good at the tech side and build something, but it's much harder to actually have that burning belief that this will work. Okay. And like, for instance, when Russell Brunson started ClickFunnels, I was like, this is like all these crazy guys I met at Silicon Valley. His stuff doesn't work, but he believes in it, and his belief will make his team get on board and build it the way he wants it. It's, so he believed in his vision more than anyone. And so he had no issues going out there and selling it as hard as he could, because he knew if you got it, you were in a better state than not having it. And it's that kind of belief that makes you a great salesperson. Is, it doesn't matter if I was proposing a $30 million deal or a $30,000 deal. I knew what I was selling was going to make this company better, or this person better, if they put it to work. And when it comes down to sales and closing deals, so I had this explained to me. This is crazy. I had this explained to me by just a normal B2B sales guy one time. He's extremely good. He made like $300,000 or $400,000 a year, and this is in probably like 2003. So that's that might be $800,000 nowadays or more. But he was extremely successful, and he told me this thing. He goes, "Dude, sales comes down." So he's 50 years old. I'm 22 or 21. And he goes, sales comes down to two things. It's clarity and accountability. And he's like, if you don't have those two things, because it doesn't matter your script, your closing lines, all this objection stuff. He's like, all that is another way to say clarity and accountability. And he's like, most people, so on the clarity side, through deals, through webinars, sales pages, in-person meetings, doesn't matter. People oftentimes, like 80-90% of the time, they don't clearly understand what they're buying. This is hilarious to say, but it's actually true. People go through a sales page like, oh, it's gonna give me this result. Okay, cool. What is it? You know what I'm saying? Like, people don't fully understand what they're buying. Okay, so clarity is really big. They also don't have clarity on things that they like, false beliefs that they have, so that is the salesperson's job. The owner, that is the evangelist's job of the company, whether they call themselves salesperson or owner or whatever. Is you have to make sure that you are bringing clarity in somebody's mind, and covering all their objections and understand their objections is a huge part of it, because everybody understand they're not gonna not buy because of what they like about it. They're going to not buy because of what they don't like. And so even recently, I was talking to some of my team, and we were trying to sell something to somebody, and I'm trying to train my team more and more how to do it. And the first thing that I say is, hey man, packaging is great. Your offer is great. Why are they not going to buy? And the person didn't really think about that. And see, this is what I'm saying. You can get the technical side, the offer stack, the technically what we're going to do, but the person's not going to buy because of false beliefs, or, you know what I'm saying? So like, you have to be really good at putting yourself in their shoes, not in our shoes. There's a lot of sales books that talk about this, but like, what I mean by that, to try to go a layer deeper, is like, what's going to hold them back? What's going to give them cold feet? What's going to make them not trust you? What's going to make them whatever, right? And then what you really want to do is, number one, the first part of a sales or a deal or a partnership or whatever, you're trying to get people to understand, like, what is the framework? What's clarity on what does this actually look like? Whether it's a product or a deal, like what does this actually kind of frame up to? And then the next part of the conversation, it could be 80% of the conversation, 50% of the conversation, but I would say on average, it's 50% of the conversation needs to be you thinking, what are they thinking? You know? And I remember when I was young, I used to just go, oh man, this person's not going to trust me. So then I would just try to rush into closing. Never worked, right? Or I'm like, oh, you know, I don't know. Like, I don't know if this person really thinks this GPS is going to like do what they say because they never seen GPS. So I'm just going to try to emotionally rush them in. That hardly ever works, especially when you go to a business person. It will work better. Emotions work better when you go to somebody who's like a solopreneur who's never made any money or hasn't come up. Like they buy on emotion a lot more. But the more sophisticated or educated, or if somebody's representing a business, they do not buy on emotion. And so, which is probably why they've gone where they've gone. And so, what you need to do is say, okay, well, what would I have to do? What would this person have to think in order for them not to think that anymore? And a lot of times it's a story. Sometimes it's demoing. Sometimes it's showing, you know, and this is why social media is powerful, guys, because you can demonstrate your capabilities of what you do long before you ever come to a sales presentation. And that is what social media and content marketing, that is the power. I mean, what I just said right there, guys, is the power of how to consult and sell social media marketing to people. If you're an agency or consultant or whatever, it is, you want to remove people's objections before they think about buying your product. So by the time they think about buying your product, they're like, oh, I don't know how I would not do this, you know? And so when you do social media right, it's not about being flashy all the time and showing all your stuff. And sometimes that can be okay. But what I'm saying is it's more about thinking, why would somebody not buy? What is their disbelief? You know, like we just brought on a new coaching student recently, and he is into helping people quit smoking. And so the content that he's putting out is very, very driven towards people's misbeliefs that they can't quit smoking, that, you know, there's too many people around that person to ever quit smoking, that it's addictive. You know what I'm saying? Like your content has to be very, very specific and really think about like, how do I bring clarity to where what they think and what the truth of it is? And the truth is my product, right? And so your content kind of bridges those two, and then that helps the sale go forward. And really, when I say accountability, just to kind of close this out, is accountability is holding them accountable for what they believe in a very polite way. But this is where I'm a very good closer, and I am very kind of hard and stringent at the end. But I'm only hard and stringent when I've done my job and they have told me things. And then I say, hey, well, if you believed in that, and if you believed in that, and if you thought that, and if you agree with me on that, then how would this not be a good deal? And I'm not trying to pressure you. I'm just trying to help you think about it in a clear way. How would this not be an amazing deal, right? And so, yeah, I mean, I think that is like good ethical closing, because the reality is, and all studies show this in every single industry, when somebody goes to make a buying decision, if and a salesperson walks up to them, says, hey, do you want to get one of those? The most common answer, and everybody would say this, is no, I'm just looking, or I need to think about it, right? That's the most common answer across any industry. It doesn't matter if it's a car, a t-shirt, or buying a business. I need to think about it. So like, if you've properly brought them through all of their objections, then at that point my closing is not pressuring them to like, unethically would be to say, well, you know, you need to think about something that you haven't actually thought about yet, but just forget that. Forget your emotions, forget what you think, forget your logic, just buy it. People do that. That's wrong. But if I go, look, didn't we talk about that? Didn't I show you that? So is that enough to make you feel comfortable, with that particular objection? You know what I mean? And if it is, then I hold them accountable for that. So, because at the end of the day, I am wasting their time and my time if all they're going to do is say that, all the time. Right. So, yeah, so that's kind of my philosophy on that.
Love it, man. That's literally gold, not gold, just diamond nuggets out there. Mic drop movements. I learned so much things now, and I'm gonna be training my team as well on this two factors that you mentioned: clarity and accountability. And a lot of time we are not aware about these two things, but literally, man, amazing code. Uh, James, I don't know how much time you already got. We're gonna be just wrapping this off now. One quick advice, anything that you want to share to our buddy entrepreneurs out there?
I think the biggest thing is there's a lot of distractions right now in the world. We're in a different time, and a lot of people, the reality of a lot of people right now is, they're worried about things, and worry and unstable mindset is what is going that I'm telling you, that is a sign you're not going to make it. Okay. I hate to say that, but like if you think about if you're in the military for your country or whatever, your commander will tell you, dude, if you're going into this battle or whatever and your mind is all messed up, you're going to die. You can have all the weapons, all the backup, all the comm systems, everyone drones looking after you, but if your mind is messed up, you're going to die. And I'm telling you, you want to do whatever you need to do, whether it's talk about it, get counseling, go through positive things on the internet, unsubscribe from things or block things that are negative. If things that happen stress you out, I would really just try to move away from those things and focus on your business, because this is the key right now, guys. There is going to be more wealth generated in the next few years than ever in recorded history. Okay. We just proved that through the last pandemic, that the average billionaire made 30% more income or more net worth, 30% on the average, which 30% may not sound like a lot. If you're at 100,000, it's nothing. But if you are a multi-billionaire, the volume of 30% is ridiculous. Okay. And so people who are wealthy and successful and elites or whatever you want to call them, they're in the right mindset. They see stocks going down. They see the crypto going down. They see all these things going down, and they are making the right moves to be ready for the bounce. Okay. To be ready for, what are the opportunities? Okay. There's opportunities, guys, all around you. Okay. You have access to the internet. So, you need to be going into forums, groups, searching, asking a million questions. Okay. If you're just coming up right now or trying to fortify your business, you need to be asking a lot of questions to a lot of different people. And, being on the internet, playing around, just putting all this negativity into your mind is only going to slow you down and is ultimately going to be the reason why you fail. And so, I just want to try to encourage you with that there is going to be a lot of opportunity. I am kind of in like you could say like, prepper community or whatever. It's amazing how many multimillionaires and billionaires and successful people in general have gotten into prepping, whether it's Tai Lopez, Grant Cardone, Mark Cuban, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, like any of these guys. They're owning land and farms, and they're kind of doing all this stuff. They're stocking food and whatnot. But what I'm saying is that is not based on fear. And also, most people who are really successful do not believe we are heading to a total doomsday of the world. And there's all these people, I'm telling you, there are hundreds of thousands of YouTube channels and people out there putting that out there, that the world is about to end, that all, like, dude, the world, I'm telling you, the world is not about to end. If the world ends, you're dead anyway. Okay. So it doesn't matter. I mean, so I'm not going to plan for my death when I'm not sick. Okay. So there's people right now planning for their death and they're not sick. Okay. Now if you have the resources to try to like fortify yourself a little bit, that's good, but don't do it out of fear. Do it out of being smart, do it out of self-reliance, do it out of being an entrepreneur. Like there's nothing more entrepreneurial than knowing how to take care of yourself and being self-reliant. I mean, that is the basis of entrepreneurship. We do this because we want to take care of ourselves and we want to have some autonomy. So yeah, I think that's a really big thing that people are missing. And I mean, if we have a couple things that we're trying to do right now. I mean, I have so many businesses and things going on right now, but we're trying to take on like 2 students a month into this. Last month we were only able to take on 1 just because of our volume. But we're trying to take on 2 students a month in this like really new program where we can it's not a high ticket thing, but they get access to me and I can help them grow their business and stuff. But it's things like that. Like there are programs like that out there, and I'm not trying to necessarily sell mine. I'm just saying there are programs out there like that where you can be a part of the upcoming gain. If you think about money, guys, like the cash flow of money around the world, it's going to go somewhere. the pie is like who has what portion of the pie is like those ratios are moving around, but you want to move to where the money's going. You know what I'm saying? Like so yeah, so I mean, people are just going to have to do things in a smarter way. And it's like I was telling somebody this the other day on a podcast. When there's a drought in the forest or the desert, most animals that are weak are going to die. But the animals that are strong and smart, that move to where the water is going to be, that they're always moving like, to where the puck is moving. Wayne Gretzky said like, you need to be moving there, guys. You may have, we may be that animal that like has lived in this valley for our whole life, but dude, there may not be water here in a month or a year. So we may need to go 20 mountains over to figure out where the viability is, And so, so in fortifying your mind is the way that you're going to make that journey, you know what I'm saying, is belief. So it doesn't matter where you're at or what country you're in, I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity in a lot of countries. So I just want to say that the opportunity is going to be bigger. The leverage is going to be much more. But the amount of open doors is less. And that's what you have to realize, that you might have to fail twice as fast this year as you did before, try more things, those kind of things. So, yeah.
That's powerful message, man. Literally, I got chills out here, and you said it very right. The analogy that you shared was amazing. And where can people find more details about that, James? The program that you just mentioned. I'll be also curious to look into it.
So the best thing would be just to hit me up on Messenger. One of my teams will pick it up on Facebook Messenger, or you can email us at info@jamessmiley.org. And one of my guys will pick it up, and we will get on the phone with every single person. But yeah, I mean, yeah. And also, like what we did with a couple people last month is we said, hey, based on your industry, we really aren't the best to help you. Like this isn't like a revenue generator for us, really. It's just trying to help some people. But I mean, it does cost something. I don't want to mislead anybody thinking like, they're, but yeah, they get time to work with me. I look into their business and my team works with them as well. But yeah, if you want to try to get in that, I mean, it involves things like we use our email list to send traffic to you, to build YouTube pages, to, whatever people need. We're going to try to help a couple people. And like I said, I can't help. I wish I could help 100 people a month or 1,000 people a month on this, but because I know this is not like a course or, go watch a video. This is like people need acceleration fast. And the best way to do that, I found, is for me to talk to them, and really ask them the hard questions and kind of understand what's going on. So yeah, so I'm basically, we agreed in my team to carve out a number of hours a month for this program, which I'm kind of taking some of that out of my family time stuff, but it's a time, like I said, it's a time to invest and give back and do things like that and help people. So that's just one thing that we're doing. So if anybody's interested, just hit me up.
Amazing. I'll be also dropping the link to James' profile on the show notes, so you can get in touch with him, definitely his team, and we'll go from there. Thank you so much, James. You have been so gracious with your time. Really love the interview. Thank you so much for coming. And for the people who are watching us live, we'll be coming with another show very soon, so stay tuned. Bye. Take care, everyone.
Appreciate it.